Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like a stranger? Like the person staring back at you is a watered-down version of who you used to be? It's a quiet, unsettling feeling, one that creeps in when you realize you've been bending so far for someone else that you've forgotten how to stand tall. Relationships should inspire growth, not erode your sense of self. But somewhere along the way, you might have started disappearing, slowly, silently, until the lines between us and you blurred beyond recognition. Let's pause here. If this hits close to home, you're not alone. Losing yourself in love is more common than you think. We convince ourselves that compromise is love, that sacrificing our needs, dreams, or quirks is just part of being a good partner. But there's a fine line between compromise and self-abandonment. Today, we're diving into the signs that you're fading into the background of your own life and how to step back into the light. You've stopped pursuing what lights you up. Remember that hobby that once made time fly? The project that made your heart race with excitement? The friends who felt like home? If those things are now gathering dust because your partner's schedule, preferences, or insecurities take priority, it's a red flag. Love shouldn't force you to shrink your world. It should expand it. Think about this. When was the last time you did something purely for you? Not to impress them, avoid an argument, or keep the peace, but simply because it made you feel alive? If you're struggling to answer, it's time to ask, am I losing myself to keep this relationship afloat? Your opinions feel like secrets. You used to speak your mind freely, whether it was about politics, art, or the best way to load a dishwasher. But now, you bite your tongue. Maybe they roll their eyes when you share an idea, or they dismiss your perspective as naive. So you learn to stay quiet, nodding along to their views while burying your own. Over time, this silence becomes a habit. You forget what your voice even sounds like when it's not filtered through their approval. Here's the truth. A healthy relationship isn't an echo chamber. It's a space where differences are respected, not silenced. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If you're dimming your inner light to match someone else's palette, your soul loses its vibrancy. Let's get real. Do you ever rehearse conversations in your head, editing your thoughts before speaking? Do you downplay your achievements to avoid making them feel insecure? These aren't acts of love. They're acts of self-betrayal. Reclaiming your voice starts small. Try sharing an unpopular opinion, even if it's as simple as admitting you hate their favorite movie. Notice their reaction. Do they listen with curiosity or shut you down? Their response will tell you everything. Your boundaries are negotiable. You set a rule. I need Sundays for self-care. But when they push, you cave. Just this once becomes every time. Soon, your boundaries feel like suggestions and their needs eclipse yours. This isn't compromise, it's self-erasure. Stoicism teaches us to guard our inner peace fiercely. Epictetus said, "No person is free who is not master of themselves." If you're constantly surrendering your time, energy, or values to accommodate someone else, you're not mastering yourself. You're losing yourself. Imagine this. You're exhausted and cancel plans to rest. They guilt trip you. You're always so sensitive. Instead of standing firm, you apologize and drag yourself out. Sound familiar? Every time you override your needs, you send a message. Your comfort matters more than mine. Rebuilding boundaries isn't selfish, it's survival. Start with one non-negotiable. Maybe it's 30 minutes of alone time daily, or refusing to engage in toxic arguments. Hold that line like your sanity depends on it, because it does. You've forgotten your own goals. That dream job, the solo trip you wanted to take, the book you planned to write, they've been shelved, not because you changed your mind, but because the relationship demanded too much space. Love shouldn't clip your wings. It should give you wind to soar. Ask yourself, whose future am I building? If your answer is theirs, it's time to pause. A partnership should have room for two visions, not one. As Seneca wisely said, life is long if you know how to use it. But when you sacrifice your aspirations for someone else's, life starts to feel painfully short. Let's break this down. Maybe you turned down a promotion because they didn't want to relocate. Or you skipped a friend's wedding to avoid their jealousy. These choices add up, leaving you with a life that looks nothing like the one you once imagined. Reignite your fire. Write down one goal you've postponed, no matter how small. Share it with your partner. If they support you, it's a sign of growth. If they resist, ask, am I willing to lose myself to keep them? If this resonated, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your identity is not negotiable. It's your birthright. Hit subscribe for more raw talks on love, self-worth, and owning your truth. Remember, you are enough exactly as you are. See you next time.